Hi guys, CDK's here from Harmony in My Shed, and on this video, I'm going back to my original video that I did about albums that have been with me since I was about 13, 14, 15, and I've still got them today in various formats. And normally I do a video about one album, but there's a few bands that I just can't do one album, because especially with these three, because they were released in relatively short space of time in between each three of the records. So I'm going to start. I think we all know. Well, I'll show this what the other two are, but Stranglers, Rattus, Norvegicus. Um, I didn't actually own this record first. I think I got it. I got it after I got Black and White. Does anybody remember the Fame label? There used to be this record label that used to sell records at albums at half price. I think it was Fame label, wasn't it? And I bought it at Boots Chemist, and I wasn't buying anything else before you get fucking snippy. That's right. Anyway, so yeah, and I bought it there, and as I say, I'd already got the first. I'd already got No More Heroes, and I'd already got Black and White. So I thought, well, I was going to the whole hog and get this. I don't think Raven had been released when I was buying these. I can't remember. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, who knows? Who would know? But yeah, this record, of course, it was released um, April 1977. And so, like I said, I bought it all like that. And obviously, I'd heard Peaches and hanging around, I'd heard, but it was all on the peel. It was all on Annie Nightingale, Johnny Walker on a Saturday afternoon on Radio 1, and all various places that I'd heard, a bit of parties, and people would put this record on, and I thought, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And some years later, well, maybe months or whatever, I can't remember, but somebody played me a Doors track. I don't know which one it was. I mean, people in the know will probably be able to tell me. But the first track on this album is called Sometimes, and this song was on, and I thought, this is a nasty version of Sometimes. It's all the crappy demo they did, and no, it was actually the Doors, and I sort of made the connection there. And also with this record, apart from the punkier ones, Goodbye Toulouse, Ugly, and all that, it's quite proggy, because obviously Dave Greenfield, I think he used to be in a prog band, didn't he? And obviously he must have carried all that stuff around with him, all that prog music. And but yeah, I always found the album. Uh, I loved it. I loved the album straight away. I just found it so different to stuff like Black and because Black and White was more aggressive. I mean, maybe if the production had been a bit punchier like it is on Black and White, then maybe it would have been the same. Next up, this album has definitely been released since in Dawn of Time. I think Stranglers and My Heroes. I think this record came out the minute I was born and I was given it as a come out. But you know what I mean. But this is the album I remember having the longest. 'Cause I think it's one of the first records I ever bought. Um, not with my own money. Actually, interesting story about that. Because back then, when I was about 14, 15, I used to went through all these stupid competitions that you used to get on the back of chocolate wrappers, crisp packets, cereal packets. You remember all that? They used to win this and win that and whatever. So I used to start writing off for all these uh, quizzes and competitions to win I don't know, a weekend in God knows where or wherever it was on, that sort of thing where, you can win really weird prizes. But I entered a competition with Golden Wonder crisps, and I can remember, I can remember doing this, and I could even, I don't remember what the question was, but I do remember the answer, and it was Susie Quattro. And before we get any cheesy remarks about Teenage Boy and Susie Quattro, you know what I'm talking about. Don't call me CD Kiss for nothing, But yeah, so it was £4. That could be a £4 record token came through the post, and so off I went. And I went up to I think it went up to Woolies. I'm not sure. And I just bought it straight away because I'd heard something better change, and I thought, oh man, that that song alone, and of course the wonderful No More Heroes. So that's the story behind that one. And always fascinated me, and I understood it more as I started learning music. Was present in the big shitty, the beat to it. It's annoying. It's very annoying. It's in the same way that Abacabbies by Genesis and also Money by Pink Floyd. It just gets on me threatening bits because it's not 4/4, and you have to do that. Not all the time. It'd be weird, wouldn't it? But you know what I mean. But that sticks out in my mind. Because of the strange beat. Obviously, this album took a bit of stick for the lyrics and the content of it. I couldn't see the bleeding, I couldn't see the arm because I didn't know what a nubile was. I thought it was some disease that they just discovered. Um, but I've been being innocent. I was an innocent 15-year-old or whatever. I didn't know what a nubile was. I knew what the chorus was about, but anyway, and I read later years, especially big fan of Hugh Cornwell solo stuff, and I read it. I read one of his books. Sorry, I read the book. Uh, his autobiography, and I read that track by track, and he said that at this point in time, they were just trying to be outrageous for just to be outrageous. And also in that book, a lot of there's actually a lot, only four, but there's four tracks off. On No More Heroes that were recorded or written or whatever it is during the Rattus sessions, and it was something better change, bitching, peasant in the big city, and the schoolman. And I don't think people were lucky enough to get to see the Stranglers around about this time, but Hugh comes to that thing with his neck with the schoolman. And I think the less said about that, the better. Right, and actually, I think that going back to the sorry, No More Heroes, well, I think a lot of the attraction of the Stranglers was the lyrics. I mean, I used to get to school, and I think I mentioned it before. We used to have a fifth year area, and we had a big stereogram in the corner. We'd all put our records on, and you put somebody put the Stranglers album on. There's No More Heroes album, and when you got to bring on the new balls, the volume would go, nuclear, and teachers would be running around like this. Well, that was fun. Anyway, of course, the next one, the Holy Trinity, black and white. Now, this one's fascinating because for the simple reason that it's if somebody asked me to do a top 10 of my favourite records of all time, albums of all time, this has got to be near the top because at the time, I don't remember how old I was. I mean, 78 it was released, so yeah, I would have been 15. And I remember hearing Tang, and I thought that's different because obviously the production was different. The Martin Rushton did this one as well. I don't remember. And I just played the whole album. I remember playing the album, or the album moving, not the album. It was just fascinating. The sound and the textures. The only problem with that record is the bass is too low in the mix, and I'll leave that with you. Um, and there used to be when I was living in Birmingham, there was a record shop. It was bigger than a spare bedroom, a really tiny little thing, and people used to have to queue to get in there. But they had some great stuff in there. And in the window, they had this album, and I used to go into Penny Bar shopping centre to go shopping. Obviously, well, everyone would be doing it. And it was always in the window, and I thought, oh man, look at that, it's beautiful. A thing of beauty, what a great cover. And in the court, in the actual cellophane, there was a single, um, and it was "Mean to Me," uh, "Old Codger," and we did "Walk On By." People might, because I didn't have that version, I just got the LP. But I've obviously I know the songs years later. And I thought, I've got to get this record. And I keep nagging, I think my grandmother at the time, and she was like, why are you paying that much for? Because, there was a lot of money back then. I remember, like, having to save for about a month just to buy a bleeding record, but an album, they were like, totally expensive. Um, so, so yeah. Uh, Good question. If anybody's watching or listening, do you prefer the black side or the white side? No, I'd have to go with the white side because it's got my favourite Stranglers song on there, which is Toilet on the Sea. This is absolutely fantastic. It's already played live and it's ferocious. Uh, I've got to see the Stranglers on the I think the 50th anniversary or the 40th anniversary video. I can't do the math quick enough, but I went to see, and all that was left there was obviously JJ and Dave Greenfield was there at the time. You got Baz Ward and wasn't Jeff Black. I mean, he's long gone, not died. I mean, he was sort of retired, and that was in Birmingham and with the O2, and wow. Because I saw the Stranglers with Hugh Cornwell, and I was just in awe of him. It didn't matter if they just stood there playing banjos and you know washboards. I'd have been in awe anyway. But with the technology, but they were never really heavy for me, and they got less so with the albums, and they got one a bit arty farty, which I still loves, but it was just weird. And then I went to see him at the O2 and on the black and white tour, and they played. Obviously, they played Toilet of the Sea. God, Jesus Christ, I didn't put the bleeding house down. Fantastic, worth the ticket price alone just to hear that. I'd never heard it live before. So yeah, so I always been fascinated about they wasn't just as most punk was back then. It wasn't just pure guitar and guitar based. I mean, it wasn't the bass player playing the root note, because he didn't know how to play the bass. That's just got some, mate. Just follow the tape, follow the dots on the neck. And but it was just great to hear the Scrabble. The guitar was always quite low in the mix, unless there was a guitar solo, which kind of fascinated me as well. That because that bass sound alone would drive anything. I mean, if you had a string quartet, they'd end up sounding like Motorhead. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, three albums that have stuck with me forever since I released. I mean, I bought them in 78, 79, 80, so that's a long time. But then again, I'm fairly old, as you can plainly see. So yeah, that's my favourite, not favourite. Well, they're my favourite albums, but they're also albums that have been hanging around the house in various formats since I was 15, 16. So anyway, yeah. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you later.